Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Cal Royal number LTBHSC-55N-32D. This is a 4x4 full mortise residential weight plain bearing stainless steel base material hinge and a satin finish with a non-removable pin preparation that's been done to it. Let's take one out of the packaging and get a closer look at it. There you go. That's a 4x4 hinge made of solid stainless steel. Okay. Stainless steel will be marginally magnetic when it's been machined or worked. So the creating of those barrels, when they take those stainless blanks and fold them or roll them over, small amount of magnetism, but the leaf, not really at all. This has a satin finish over the solid stainless base material. The most durable of all finishes. This would be considered a natural finish, where you're taking a piece of base material and you are just polishing it or brushing it. This would be considered a natural finish versus a, I don't know if artificial is the right term, but if you had a brass-based material with a satin chrome plating on it, that would be a artificial finish, which happens to be the most durable of all artificial finishes. So people will say, well, give me the most durable finish. Well, okay, it would be stainless steel with a brush finish over solid stainless. But if you don't want stainless steel base material, it would be, satin chrome over brass. Square corner hinge, template pattern on the screw holes. This is a 4x4, which I think I've already said. Very large logo here. I don't love the size of the logo, Cal Royal. I don't want corporate advertising on my hardware. Make a petite logo, maybe the size of the R in your current logo. I would be proud of your company too. There's no doubt. Cal Royal is an exceptional company, great customer service, incredibly deep inventory. But I don't like such big corporate advertising. This is a non-removable pin. N in the part number stands for non-removable pin. You do see a little evidence of something here. You can't get to it when your door is closed, but when your door is open, you can put an Allen wrench into there and pull out that set screw, which is what's in there. So what happens is this. That hinge pin, you could otherwise easily drive that out. Easily. When you put an N or an NRP or non-removable pin, you take that hinge pin and you cut a groove into it. Into that groove, you'll tighten that set screw and lock it in, all but preventing you from driving that pin out. I've tried it. I locked myself out of my own office one day, and no other way to get in. There were a total of 3 doors to the office area. All of the doors were locked. One of them swung in, didn't have my key naturally. Well, I tried to tap them pins out, and I just realized this is not happening. So very effective way by which to prevent the removal of the pin. Where would you use that? Exterior doors that swung out. Doesn't have to be an exterior door. That office environment was an interior application, but nonetheless, access to the inner office area is something that I wanted to have control over, to the point where even adding non-removable pin hinges was the call made, and that's where you would use it. When you don't want that pin that would otherwise be easily tapped out, once that pin is out, you can just tip the door right out. It'll certainly come right out. Let's go over what this is. Made of stainless steel. They say that the thickness of this is 80 thousandths of an inch. My caliper tells me that it's 0.078. 0.078, that's awfully thin for a residential hinge. That should be closer to 90 thousandths. I don't know why it's so thin. If you have a standard door and frame prep for a 4x4 residential weight hinge, this is going to be a little thin for that. 5-knuckle, you can see why they would call it a 5-knuckle hinge, quite obviously. This is plain bearing. There are no bearing packets in this. I would very much recommend ball bearings in all instances except for those that are incredibly low volume use. If you open that door hardly ever, I wouldn't worry about it. But even in a residential application where you have a bathroom door, a coat closet door, a door down to the basement where all the kids go downstairs and play, or the garage door, the attached garage door, you're not going to see it day one, year 5, but I assure you, years down the road, you will have a sagging door because that hinge has fatigued with the thousands of cycles, tens of thousands of cycles. So I would encourage the consideration of a ball bearing hinge. Because I've witnessed, fatigue on plain bearing hinges. The galling, the friction that occurs, it's just a matter of time. It's not going to be immediate, be mindful, but it will happen. 8 holes, this is a template pattern. And what I mean by template pattern is that there is a link below this video to a document called template. And that document is going to show you the location of the holes for the screws. And speaking of the screws, they are included. These are going to be all wood screws that are included. They are not magnetic, so they're certainly not made of steel. I would imagine that they're made of stainless. I couldn't imagine them being made of anything other than stainless. Zinc is not magnetic, but I don't believe they'd use a zinc screw on a stainless hinge. If you're unsure if you're doing a replacement and you're unsure if this is the right hinge for your application, definitely be mindful to check those dimensions before you go about ordering the hinges. This is the template pattern, as I had said a couple of times previously, because it refers to the document that we're calling template. But the template pattern, the term template used in the sense to describe the actual locations. If you have a 4x4 hinge that the locations for the holes are the template pattern, regardless of manufacturer, those holes will be in the same location. Now, don't assume that the holes that you have are in these locations, because there's probably a dozen or more hinge hole patterns seen on 4x4 hinges. So be mindful to double check if you're replacing. If you're unsure, even if you're unsure at all, double check. Unless you happen to know absolutely that it is the proper sort of hinge in terms of the location of that material. This is a full mortise hinge. You can see from the swag on the hinge leaves here that they're meant to be mortised to the edge of the door and frame when the leaves are brought parallel. Okay, that's full mortise, the little swag, the bend that they've done right there on both of those leaves. Of course, very available, certainly available without the non-removable pin. It would be the same hinge, just would not have a hole drilled and tapped there for that set screw. Okay, this client obviously wants to control that pin from being driven out. This same hinge, this is a 4x4 hinge. This is going to be appropriate for doors that would be 1 3/4 inch thick. Okay, 4x4. It's important to know the height is the first dimension on a hinge. Some people may know that, others may not realize they need to know that. Doesn't really matter when you've got a square hinge, but if you had a rectangular hinge, it would be nice to, it's important to know the height is the first dimension. Why is that an issue? Well, it's very common to see 4.5 by 6, or 4.5 by 4, or 4 by 7, or 4 by 3.5, or 3.5 by 5. Okay, so what hinge do you want to use? Well, I want to use a 5 by 4.5. Okay, how do I prep my door and frame? Is it a 5 inch or a 4.5 inch? The first dimension is the answer to that question. So that's a 4 inch tall hinge. That happens to be 2 inch from the edge of the hinge to the center of the vertical axis of pivoting. Otherwise 4 inch when it's opened up. Okay. Very typical piece of equipment. Finally, there is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Cal Royal products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. Good company, Cal Royal. Prompt, reliable, predictable customer service. A well-oiled machine. They get an order within a couple of days. You generally have a tracking number without too much trouble or wrangling. and that's always appreciated. Any questions on the Cal Royal? This is their part number LTBHSC55 and a US 32D finish and an NRP option, or any other Cal Royal product. Please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.